Lee Rayburn Show is brought to you by Thai Smile and Rancho Mirage. Our next guest is an author and recent resident of Desert Hot Springs. In fact, he has written what could be considered the definitive biography on Desert Hot Springs, historical biography of Desert Hot Springs, if such a thing existed. Taking us all the way back to 103 years ago, starting with Jack Riley in 1908 and going all the way forward to, well, Alex Bias's wife being charged in 2 separate bank robberies. The book is called The Vortex Made Me Do It. You can get it on Kindle. You can get it on Amazon. I think those two things are the same, but you know, you can get it. Our guest, Bill Effinger, the book, The Vortex Made Me Do It. Bill, great to speak with you.
Thank you very much.
What made you decide to write the book about Desert Hot Springs?
Well, after living there for about 3.5 years and being somewhat involved in all of the politics that was going on, mostly as an observer, but some of the time as an active participant, and writing myriad articles for the local newspapers and just watching what was going on, it was sort of unbelievable. And every once in a while I'd say, you know, somebody's got to write this all down. I mean, when they do, nobody's going to believe it.
It's truly crazier than fiction. You couldn't make this stuff up. And you do a nice job of couching it in, The Vortex Made Me Do It. What is this vortex you're speaking of? Because I always thought it was probably something in the water.
Well, when you look at the history, as I did, and you'll go all the way back, there are many, many believers. And when you read the book, I interviewed several different people. Mm-hmm. Some believe it, some don't. But the concept is that Desert Hot Springs is in the confluence of a particular geodetic position that if you believe, there's a magnetic force and a celestial force that creates some sort of vortex.
Did you, Bill, ever feel that force?
No, I never did.
That's an interesting argument to make, but I don't know if that gets to the crux of the problem of Desert Hot Springs. In your 3.5 years, first of all, Bill, why did you decide to leave the Coachella Valley?
Well, several reasons. The most important one is that my wife just absolutely did not like the city itself. And she spent 1.5 years working for the city. Well, actually, she spent about 2.5 years working.
Oh, she worked for the city.
Oh, yes, and that was an experience that she'll never forget.
But I can't help but think in the tone of your voice she would probably choose to if she could.
Absolutely, and, you know, she's a professional person. She'd come home every night just shaking her head and saying, you know, I just can't deal with this.
Are you saying there's a lack of professionalism inside City Hall?
That's putting it mildly.
Now, I had the chance to speak with the former mayor of Desert Hot Springs, Alex Bias, whose wife has been charged in 2 separate bank robberies at the beginning of this year. And I asked him about the time he painted the hallways in City Hall pink. He wanted to insist to me that he actually painted them blue. What's the truth about the color of the hallways in Desert Hot Springs City Hall?
He did paint them blue. And I have to tell you that when Alex Bias introduced himself to, actually my wife and I met with him because we had been interested in that mayoral race, mm-hmm. and we had done some research, and most of the research that I had done up to the time that we met Alex was basically, it appeared to me from an outsider looking in, which we certainly were at that time, that he was really being targeted. So I was a supporter of Alex's up until the time that he got into office. And then he began, he was elected as mayor, as you know,
right.
But somehow he got confused and thought he was elected king. And this just started going sideways. And then shortly after he got elected, I wrote a long piece, which is in the book, basically saying, Alex, you know, get out of Dodge. I mean, you don't know what government is all about, and you're just flubbing your dub.
Well, I believe his response may have been the title of your book, The Vortex Made Me Do It.
I think that was the case.
Our guest, Bill Effinger, and I think What was the first indication for you that just the system didn't seem to be functioning well in Desert Hot Springs when you moved there?
As I say in the book, I was a mayor of a city a long, long time ago, and so I've got a little bit of political expertise, and the first thing I saw was, in a short period, they had 10 different police chiefs, different city managers.
Wow.
You just can't run a city like it. When we got there, the city manager $1,000 a year, and then they brought the city attorney in to function temporarily as city manager, and then they hired Anne-Marie Gallant, manager, and all of those were within a span of about 2 3/4 years.
Why the revolving door?
Well, the whole thing is a revolving door. I mean, the politics is terrible. They've got 29,000 people living there. They've got, at last count, I believe they had something like 9,000 registered voters.
Wow.
And 1,400 of them vote. So. And that's the system all the way through. If you go back all the years from the time they were incorporated in 1963, you see that it's just one mistake after another, and it's always a very, very small number of people that vote, and they're not the most intelligent people that vote. The good people, the strong people, the intelligent people, the educated people that are living there, many of whom are our friends.
Right.
Stay out of it totally. They just want to, enjoy the desert, and they just stay out of the politics. That's the problem. So what they end up with is, they've got a very low gene pool up there in their government.
Is that in your book, Bill?
Somewhere.
The Vortex Made Me Do It is the title of the book, and it becomes more intriguing with every bomb you throw, Bill. I want to ask you specifically about a story that has come to light in the Desert Star Weekly. The publisher of the Desert Star Weekly, Dean Gray, claims that a local real estate developer received a $10 million giveaway thanks to a special relationship with the current city manager, Rick Daniels. The development in question is the still incomplete Skyborne development that was run by Jim Kozak of Strategic Land Partners. Was there in Desert Hot Springs, was the dealings with real estate developers different than the rest of the Coachella Valley?
I don't know about the rest of Coachella Valley, but the dealings with developers in Desert Hot Springs, and I've been in the development business my entire life. From the time I got out of the Navy when I was 20. I've been in development in one way or another, and I have to tell you, most of the dealings with development, they were so unorthodox. And when I first got there, it was a red carpet, and they were coming in, the developers were coming in droves, absolute droves.
What year was this, Bill? This
would have been 2005. I started writing for the Valley Breeze about the last 3-4 months of 2004. Before we moved there.
Oh, wow.
And so I started doing research and all that kind of stuff, and I just couldn't believe what was going on, and they were so mesmerized with getting fees. They just kept zoning. And I'd go to the city council meetings and say, wait a minute, you've got to really slow down.
As I understand it, Bill, developers required to come in, take out an insurance policy to make sure all the public improvements mandated by the city are completed. That policy is considered a bond, and each month the developer must pay into the policy like a guarantee. Unfortunately, as the Desert Star Weekly points out, with Jim Kozak and his Skyborne development, that bonding measure was never assessed.
Yeah, well, it's a bond. You refer to it as an insurance policy, but it's actually a bond, and bonds are to bond for the improvements to guarantee that the improvements are going to be completed.
And these are public improvements for the greater good of the community, the neighborhood. That's why the city mandates them.
That's correct. The original developer was a major company, publicly held company.
Oh.
And when the property was transferred to the new owner. I don't know why I can't think of the name of the developer right now, but anyway.
Strategic Land Partners?
No. It was...
So this has changed hands a number of times then?
Oh, yes. And the original developer of that property that got all the improvements to go forward with Skyborne posted the bond. So when they transferred the property, they wanted to get out from under the bond. And the city, I just sat back and my mouth was open. I mean, you never let anybody out from under a bond without knowing that the improvements are going to get finished.
Why would you let a developer out of a bond? It doesn't seem to be in the community's best interest at all.
Well, it didn't seem like it to me, and it still doesn't. And so what the city now has, instead of a bond, they have a lien. Well,
what good's that going to do?
I didn't fall off the turnip truck here.
Bill, that's the second time I've heard that in reference to Desert Hot Springs.